Got some major updates for you on Russiagate 2.0, the stunning story stemming from new indictments from the Department of Justice claiming that some very big right-wing YouTube channels from Dave Rubin, Clickbait Benny Johnson, Tim Pool, Lauren Southern, and others were on the take for $10 million of money originating from Russia that was laundered through various shell companies in order to disguise its origin as part of Russia's supposed latest propaganda campaign aimed at the 2024 American presidential election. Now, being your trusted independent media analyst, I will give you the whole story about what happened, what's true, what's fake news, and why I think this actually happened. Now, in these YouTubers' defense, they did not know that the money was coming from Russia. The money had no strings attached. They were making videos they were going to make anyway. They just happened to be paid a stunningly insane amount of money to make videos to then be part of a new media company that was launched last year called Tenet Media, which right away set up a red flag for me and others in the business because of its mysterious origin. And it looked like it was a joint venture between Tim Pool and Benny Johnson and, like I said, Dave Rubin and Lauren Southern and a couple other guys, Tyler Hansen, not quite as well known. But it was so mysterious because they didn't say that it was a joint venture. It just was this weird media company that just launched, and they didn't say that they were teaming up. It was very, very odd. And after doing a little bit of digging, things became even stranger because the owner of Tenet Media was Lauren Chen, the YouTuber, the very beautiful, very intelligent YouTuber who works with, up until she just got fired, for The Blaze. And so that didn't make any sense whatsoever that these big names would all join together under a company that Lauren Chen owned. But it all makes sense now because these guys are being paid, some of them $100,000 per video, okay? Which is an absolutely insane amount of money, which should have set off red flags in all of their minds. But they were all greedy, and like a mouse stumbling across a giant piece of seemingly free cheese, they didn't think about where the money was actually coming from. And so what happened here was they licensed their content to Tenet Media, and they just made, like I said, the same kind of content that they were going to make anyway, that they were making on their original channels. And unfortunately, they are now being painted as Russian propagandists, even though, again, none of the content that they were making had any sort of editorial control by Tenet Media or by the Russians that it looks like Lauren Chen teamed up with because she actually used to work for RT as a columnist. And the indictment says that she and her husband, who are Canadian but live in Nashville, Tennessee, I think she moved there because she was trying to cozy up with the Daily Wire. Before then, she started criticizing Israel and then realized that that's never going to happen. And so it looks like she jumped at this opportunity when some Russia Today employees, possibly people that she knew when she was working for RT, approached her and then offered her $10 million to pay these guys hundreds of thousands of dollars a month in order to build up this new, supposed conservative, independent brand channel, Tenet. And I heard from a very good source that when some of the talent at Tenet started asking questions about where all this money is coming from, that Lauren Chen allegedly said that it was from a wealthy family member of hers who just wanted to help her and her husband build a giant conservative media company to rival the Daily Wire. Tenet's YouTube channel, along with Lauren Chen's personal channels, she ran her main channel and experimented around with a couple other different channels, were all permanently banned from YouTube yesterday, claiming that they were in violation of a coordinated, information manipulation campaign. And I'm not even saying that Lauren Chen did anything wrong other than lying to her friends and her associates. I don't think that it should be a violation of the terms of service or illegal to accept funding from someone who happens to be a non-citizen of America. Of course, it's perfectly fine to accept funding from Israel, but if you're accepting funding from people from Russia for your media company, then you're potentially going to get indicted and have your YouTube channels banned for violating YouTube's terms of service. So the mainstream media and the fake alternative liberal media, places like the Young Turks, Chunk Yogurt, are claiming that these guys were all Russian propagandists and that they were, quote, being paid as Russian propagandists. Well, that's half true. They were being paid by Russia, by agents who were working for RT through the various shell companies. But again, Tenet Media and the Russians who were backing it and the Russians who Lauren Chen hired to also work for Tenet Media as editors had no influence over the content of the videos that these guys were posting. And to put this in perspective, the 2016 Russia election interference campaign, which did exist, but again, it wasn't to promote Donald Trump. It was just to sow chaos. They promoted both sides. They promoted Trump. They promoted Hillary. They promoted Black Lives Matter, anti-Trump stuff. And they spent $150,000 on ads on Facebook in 2016. Okay, so they paid $150,000 to manipulate the information ecosystem in 2016, and then in 2024 they paid $10 million to some of the top conservative right-wing YouTubers. Why? I give it a very high likelihood that our intelligence agencies directed the Russians to actually do this, specifically so that it could later be exposed as a big conspiracy and the money trail revealed as a way to smear right-wing, independent, and kind of quasi-independent YouTube channels and media companies. Because you can't get really any bigger or more independent than Tim Pool. And even Benny Johnson, who's blown up in the last few years. He used to work for BuzzFeed. He's kind of a weenie and a clickbaiter, if you ask me, but he is a successful content creator. And Dave Rubin, Conservative Inc.'s token gay guy, and Lauren Southern, who used to be like a big pro-white activist and then reinvented herself as a supposed centrist. But it doesn't make any sense that the Russian government, through RT, Russia Today, their state-funded media outlet, which was banned by YouTube a couple years ago after Russia invaded Ukraine, that they would spend that much money to pay these content creators when they have zero influence over what it is that they're doing. And the money didn't even give them any larger of a reach. And while the mainstream media is falsely painting these guys as Russian propagandists who were paid to spread Russia disinformation, even though they weren't technically paid by Russia just to produce their own content again, the London Guardian couldn't even get the picture of Tim Pool correct in their story. Now, they have since updated it, but this is the actual story archived, thankfully, on archive.org. U.S. conservative influencers say that they are victims of Russia disinformation campaign, and they actually are. The indictment actually says that they were all unwillingly duped. It does say that Lauren Chen lied to them, and she may be in a world of trouble, and it's going to be interesting to see if the government may actually sue them to try to take the money that they were paid, claiming that it violated, sanctions against Russia. So that's going to be interesting. Then they're going to have to sue Lauren Chen for fraud. This is a big, big can of worms. But the London Guardian got the story so messed up that they apparently don't even know who Tim Pool is or what he looks like, because that is not Tim Pool. Now, on the other hand, if Lauren Chen was being funded through AIPAC, the American Israel Political Action Committee, the big pro-Israel lobbying firm, which I'm sure gets a lot of money donated from Israelis, which then goes to fund American political candidates and other media operations here in the U.S., then she would have no problem. But because she accepted money from Russia, and then she did lie about it, which was very shady, now she has her YouTube channels banned. And speaking of funding, I'm funded directly from you, those who read my books, order my shirts, and sponsor me through locals. And this weekend, you can save 20% off anything from markdice.com by using the promo code TATER at the checkout. That's in honor, in case you haven't heard, of Brian Stelter being hired back by CNN. That's not a joke. Thankfully, for our entertainment, he has been rehired by Clown News. So save 20% off of the new Want it for President shirt, the Trumpomania shirt, the classic Fight, Fight, Fight shirt, or any of my awesome designs by heading over to markdice.com or click the link in the description below, enter the promo code TATER at the checkout, and check them out.